Today we're going to take a look at the ClearTouch Interactive 6000U series panels. So what we're going to do is start off talking a little bit about the hardware and then also get into some of the software that we include with our 6000 series panels. The first thing to note is that we do manufacture 5 different sizes of the 6000 series, so anywhere from a 55-inch all the way up to an 86-inch panel. And new for the 6000 series, all of these are 4K UHD resolution. But this really makes for a wide selection for the customer to be able to place into the classroom. This right here is our largest one at the 86-inch, but most popular has been the 65 and the 70 and more recently the 75-inch as far as that front of classroom display that we've seen in there. But all of our panels are a full commercial grade unit, so everything has a metal frame on here, a metal chassis. We also have a 4mm tempered glass on the front of here, which is a nice rugged piece of glass, especially if we're putting this in the classroom. And that's also rated for 250 pounds per square inch. The LED behind there is rated for a 30,000 hour life. So especially if we compare this to some of the projectors that schools are starting to replace, you may get 10 or 12,000 hours out of a good projector, and that's of course with a couple bulb replacements, filter cleaning, everything that goes along with that. So we definitely get an extended life when we bump up to this commercial grade LED. Right now I'm actually running off of an internal computer, so all of our sizes of panels have the option for an internal computer. Let me show you this here. And this can come in a couple different sizes and flavors, so we can either have an i5 processor with a standard 8 gigs of RAM, or we can also upgrade that to 16 gigs of RAM, as well as the other version which has an i7 processor which comes standard with that 16 gigs of RAM. This has been upgraded, so all of the USB ports on here are going to be 3.0, and we've also upgraded the pin selector in here to accommodate the 4K resolution on all of our panels. So apart from the internal PC option, we also have an expansion module that we can put into the panels, and this allows for us to do things like our DisplayNote montage application, which is more of a conference room solution where we can have wireless screen sharing with multiple screens to be able to control a meeting space. So think of this as an expansion slot for the ClearTouch panels. All right, so apart from that internal PC, we also have all of your traditional display inputs on the screen. So we have 3 HDMI inputs, one of which is an HDMI 2.0. We also have a true DisplayPort input, so for any of your Dell or maybe HP laptops on there. We've also added VGA and then also a traditional AV input, so for any legacy equipment, DVD players, anything like that. But these inputs allow us to connect a whole range of devices, whether it's Apple TVs or, like I said, DVD players, but we can also connect external computers. So if I have a Windows laptop, a MacBook, even maybe a student's Chromebook, we can connect those. And we've also added a second touch USB input to allow us to connect multiple computers and then easily switch back and forth between those. We've also added a true HDMI output to the 6000 series panels. So this allows me to output any internal source that I have on the panel to an external screen, whether it's maybe a large projector in the cafeteria. And it also allows me to output some of those Android annotations, which we'll get into in just a second. Lastly, I also have a routable RJ45 connector on this panel. So that allows me to have one network drop in the front of the classroom or the conference room, and that will feed a hardwire internet connection to any of the internal sources, whether it's that internal PC or the internal Android. So that way we only need one. We also do have a Wi-Fi module that will slide into the panel, which will provide wireless 2.4 and 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi connections to any of those internal inputs as well. Lastly, I would also like to point out the USB ports on the front. We have 3 on the front. One is a USB 3.0. This year, those are also routable. So when I plug in a flash drive, if I'm on the internal PC, it will show up as a source there. But if I switch over to the internal Android system, it will also show up as a source there without having to switch anything. All right, so next we're going to take a look at some of the internal Android features that are on here. So a couple things that we can do with our internal Android. I can use this as kind of the built-in operating system, so I do have a few things that we have built in, one of which is just our EasyNote application. So this is kind of a scaled-down version of our Windows program, which we'll show in a little while. But we still have the multi-touch feature. I can still control my pen shape and pen colors. It also does have the ability to do some flip charts, so if I want to start creating slides. I can actually create something on there. But most importantly, this is just an easy way to pull up a quick whiteboard if we need a quick session without having to log into a computer or do anything on there as well. Also on the built-in Android side, I've got a couple of utility features here. I also have a Finder system. So if I do have files saved on the internal storage for the internal Android, or if like I said, if I do have a flash drive plugged in, we can pull up any of our files, maybe a PowerPoint file that we want to pull up really quick, or a Word document, anything like that. We also have the browser, which will allow us to access the internet, and then we also have a ClearTouch store this year. So this is a curated app store, which can also be customized by the school district or the company that we're working with. But as you can see, we've already added hundreds of applications on here, whether it's games or other things like Khan Academy or Kahoot, some of the curriculum software that schools are already familiar with. But this allows for a seamless experience for the end user. They can simply click and download. And that way, and also the school district, like we said, can customize this and add in any specific applications that they need to download. But this also prevents the end user from downloading any number of applications from the Android store, which may be dangerous or harmful to the panel and or the network. And also to help your folks get started, we've also included a Get Started link here. And this is going to link to ClearTouch's website page where they can find things like link to our ClearTouch Academy, which is an online LMS program where we can learn all sorts of different things about the ClearTouch panel. But it also has a couple links to some of our software downloads and other things like that, just to help people get started. Lastly, for this internal Android, this also provides us with a floating sidebar that's available anywhere on the panel. So no matter what input I'm on, so maybe I even switch over to maybe an HDMI input, maybe I have again a DVD player or an Apple TV connected. I always have access to my sidebar, and this allows me to do things like annotate. So I can grab my annotation, that's still going to give me that multi-touch annotation as well as my gesture recognition. So if I flatten my hand, I can call up an eraser on there. We also have a highlighter feature as well, so rather than just marking up, we can grab the highlighter. And then lastly, I can save anything that I do. So if I want to save some of the notes that we've taken, it will save both the annotations as well as the image behind the annotations, and then I can upload that to Google Drive or Dropbox or any source that I would like as well. On our sidebar, we also have a couple other tools that we can do. We can also hop back and forth quickly to our note application, which we showed earlier. So maybe we're watching a DVD and I want to switch back to EasyNote and scribble some quick notes. We can do that as well. But we also have a couple tools that are built in down here. Some general tools. We have things like a timer, a stopwatch. One of these is a spotlight tool. So if I want to call attention to anything, and this will work again on any input. So I can have the DVD or Apple TV playing. I have the spotlight tool. And lastly, I also have a quick polling assessment for the class. So I have Air Class on here. So if I want to take the temperature of the room and maybe have the students connect their devices, I can send out a quick couple questions to see where we are in the classroom. And again, that's available on any input on the ClearTouch 6000 series. All right, next we're going to talk about our integrated screen share. This is going to make use of that number you've seen floating around in the top corner there. But this allows us to wirelessly connect any Windows computers, Mac, as well as Android and iOS devices, each of which have a program, a screen share program that will load or an application on the device. So once I get that, I'm going to come over here to my computer and I'm going to type in the code that you see there. All right, and then I'll start sharing my screen. And so that's wirelessly going to send that over there. And this is going to send the video signal as well as carry over that touch signal to the screen. And this also allows us to still use things like our annotation bar that we have on the side here. So I can still pause, annotate over my screen, take a screenshot, do any number of things. All right, and like I said, we can also connect our Android and iOS devices. So from the iPad here, I'll go ahead and launch the Screen Share app, type in that same code again. All right, then we'll go ahead and start the screen sharing. So once we have that there, now you can see I've got the iPad mirrored on the screen there, and that way we can show anything from the iPad wirelessly to the screen. All right, now we'll switch back over to the internal PC and talk about some of the software over there. And a couple things to note about that internal PC. Typically, we'll actually ship that with nothing on it to the school district, which allows them to use their own version of Microsoft with their own licensing. That way they can image this computer just like they would any other computer in the district, allowing for a much easier end user experience where they can log in with their typical district login. Along those same lines, you can also install any software that you normally would on a Windows PC. So anything from curriculum software to a different browser, anything that you have. But now we're going to go over some of the software that ClearTouch includes with the 6000 series panels to really add a lot of that functionality and utility that we're known for. The first one that I'll show you guys is EasyNote. So we saw kind of that scaled down version back on the internal Android operating system. But this is that full powered version. And what we've done with this EasyNote software is we've really made it touch friendly, very easy to use. So for example, with the pen button, I've got nice large controls for switching pen styles, pen color, anything like that. And all of our panels do have 20 points of touch. And I haven't quite figured out how to show the 20 points of touch without putting maybe a foot on the board. But that allows for a bunch of simultaneously points of touch, which will actually come in handy with our Snowflake software, which we'll show in just a little bit, where we can have multiple students, maybe around a tabletop application and those sorts of things. We also still have our gesture recognition, so if I flatten my hand, I can call up an eraser without having to switch any tools on there. So what I'll do is I'll kind of run through a few of the tools here, and then we'll hop into a couple other applications. But this software works very similar maybe to a PowerPoint or any other kind of flip chart application. I can go ahead and create my slides ahead of time as the teacher. I can come over here, I can save these in kind of the main menu, save it as an EasyNote file if I want to, and reopen that again. Or of course I can export this out as a PDF or a PowerPoint, Word document. And that just allows me to push this out to maybe the students or even the parents. And this gives them a format that they can open up at home without having to have this full software installed on their device. So on the flip side of that, I can also import anything into EasyNote. So I can grab the file structure of the computer here. This could be maybe pictures or PDFs from the textbook, any media that I have saved on the computer. Also a note too, if this were imaged by the school district, I would also have access to all of my network folders or drive folders or anything like that. So I'm going to go ahead and pull a video file in here. Do this one here. So that's going to pull in the video into a viewer window, and I can use my select tool to pinch to zoom, scale that in and out if I want to. Go ahead and hit play. You'll also be able to hear the two built-in 12-watt speakers. As you can tell, they get very loud.
This is not just one.
Those are two 12-watt downward firing speakers which provide plenty of classroom audio. But we do also have an analog and digital audio output, so if we do want to tie in with any of those existing speaker solutions in the classroom, we can. But while I've got my video playing here inside of the whiteboard space, I can of course come over to the side and take some notes if we like. I can even draw right over the video if I want to while that's playing. I can pause the video at any time. So if I want to pause that, rearrange, maybe stop at that scene and talk about something else, we can. But like I said, this works for any pictures or PDFs, anything that we want to bring in and maybe start building that flip chart as we go along. A couple other tools that are built into the EasyNote application. One of my favorite is just some simple shape recognition. So if I want to finally draw the perfect circle, it'll snap to it for me, triangles, anything like that. But just like some of these other menu options, if I select it again, I get kind of my extended menu here with more shapes, things like the arrow tool or any number of things like that as we go along. The next one over is the Infinite Canvas tool. So this is really, really cool. This allows me to select anywhere on the screen that's not an object. Now I can actually push all that up off the screen. So maybe I'm maybe a math teacher working on a long division problem as we go down here. I can actually bump that up just a little bit and keep working the problem. So I'm not limited to the space of just the board. And then we can push that off anywhere we go and kind of create this infinite digital landscape. And a couple other things that I can do with that. So just like the other tools, select that again, and I can see all the stuff that I've pushed off the screen. If I want to hop back to the beginning, I can simply do that. Or I can use my pinch to zoom feature. And now I can fit all that information on the screen at one time. So really frees up the space on the board there. A couple other things that are built in here. We do have some built-in handwriting recognition. There we go. So especially maybe for younger grades, maybe trying to learn cursive. That's going to go ahead and snap that detection. I can even have it read things aloud and do all sorts of fun things with that. All right, another one of my favorite tools is the desktop mode. So this allows me to hop back out to the desktop, gives me my floating toolbar from EasyNote, but now I can access any other program that I have loaded on the computer or hop out to maybe the internet or anything like that. So now we can go out to, maybe our favorite science website, anything that we have running on there, and we still retain a lot of our functionality from EasyNote. So I can grab my pen tool here, select that twice, change the color, change the scale, anything like that. This just allows me to annotate over any other source or any other program that we're running on here. There's also a few built-in tools. So if I come down here to the toolbar, I can grab a few things like a timer, a spotlight tool again, but my favorite is just some screen clipping. So I can grab this, do either the whole page or maybe a section. We'll grab just this section here. So maybe this is something we want to talk about in a little more detail. Go ahead and outline that, hit the check mark, and that's going to bring it for me right back into EasyNote. And so now I can use, again, my pinch to zoom. I can even rotate this if I want to, be able to place it wherever I need to on the screen. So that way we can bring something from the internet or from another program right back into this whiteboard space where, again, we have our pen tool for taking notes, drawing right over that and doing all kinds of things on there. So that's one of my favorite ways just to bring in some media from any other website or anything on there. Last but not least, we'll go into some of the tools that are built in here. So I'm going to hop into, again, this main toolbar. And a couple different things we can do. Of course, we can always change the background inside of EasyNote. So if I want to hop over to any other color, maybe a light gray, something like that. Or we can also go into kind of some subject-specific backgrounds, things like maybe grid paper for math, handwriting paper, music staff. We also have, of course, football, soccer fields, anything that we need for some of the coaches maybe. I can also have the ability to customize my background. So if I want to add in my own specific image, I can do that as well. Moving over, I have some more subject-specific tools. So some of the math tools are really cool. I can actually have a built-in graphing calculator right on the screen. So I'll call this out, call up the keyboard here. Now I can graph any functions. I can graph multiple equations, anything I want to do on there. This is also a live graph, so if I take and select this, I can extend it out. It continues graphing. But now again, I can grab my pen tool, get right into that graph, talk about the wavelengths, anything that we're talking about that day. But all these math tools kind of work the same way. So all these are interactive, whether it's a compass or a ruler. I can call this on the screen, gives me a readout in inches. Now I can do my perfect circles. I could use this for geometry class, solving equations. If I want to change the pen color on that, I simply come to my pen tool and select a different color, and we can also do that as well. But all these tools are interactive, whether it's the ruler, protractor, or anything. Some of the physics and chemistry tools, these are what I call kind of live lab equipment. So for physics, I can do things like create circuits if I want to, dragging out the light bulb and the switch. Some of the chemistry tools, I've got things like beakers, alcohol lamps, some tripod stands, all kinds of stuff that we can call out. And like I said, all these are interactive as well. So what I can do is do things like pour back and forth if we want to. Oops, spilled a little bit. Or we can grab this and I can always fill items back up or maybe change the color. So that way a teacher could really take all these tools and maybe mock up an experiment before we're going to get in the lab. And that way the students know what we're going to run through. And the last thing on there is also being able to use the periodic table for reference. So I call up this electron structure, and now I can call up the periodic table. And as I scroll through the different elements, that's going to show me the valence electron structure on there as well. Back inside of our menu, across the top, we'll go to some of our more general tools that are built in. So again, we see access to things like the screenshot or the spotlight. I can call up maybe a timer on the screen. If we want to have this in the top corner, I can grab this. And I can also set this, once it times down, it'll actually go out to a hyperlink. So if I want to instantly load a YouTube video or maybe just another file on my computer, I can do that as well. All right, so the last thing we'll show inside of the toolbar here is the ability to tie in any document camera or USB video source that we have. So this could be a webcam like I have here, or maybe a document camera or any other video source that we have. I can call this up right inside of EasyNote. I can do some annotation over that right from there, or we can take a quick screenshot, and that's going to put that right into our whiteboard space that we can have there. Or I can even do some multi-screen here. So if I go back to my video source, now I can actually grab 4 different images at once. So if I want to, maybe I have a document camera, I want to bring multiple students' work, and we're going to show it in a split screen view like this. I can have multiple different screens here if I want to. And then at the end, I can also shoot these all. Oops. I can also shoot all of those back into my whiteboard space if I want to as well, and maybe send up a couple more kids to annotate over them and do all that as well. The next program I want to show you guys is called Easy Connect. So this is a way for us to connect our Android or iOS devices to the panel, and this is mostly focused on the teacher's device. I'm going to grab my phone here. So this is a one-at-a-time connection. The next program we'll talk about a little bit, we'll be able to connect all the student devices. So if we want to bring in some of those one-to-one devices into the situation, we can as well. But I'll call up Easy Connect on here, and from my phone, I'll go ahead and launch the app. All right, and then I'm going to go ahead and select the computer, and it's telling me my iPhone is connected. And from the application, there's a few different things that we can do. So the first thing is actually some screen mirroring. So what I'm going to do is take what's on the main screen there, and as you can see, it's showing up on my phone as well. And this is a great way to maybe monitor the screen, but it's also a live view as well. So if I come in here, I can actually control the mouse. Oops, I'm doing all kinds of stuff on there. But it's like having a full Windows 10 computer now on my device. A little goofy maybe on a phone, but especially if a teacher had an iPad or an Android tablet, we can do that as well. A couple other things that I can do from here, I can also call up a keyboard. So if I want to maybe type something into Google, I can have that as well as some annotation. So if I want to annotate while I'm walking around the classroom, I can do that as well. So while I'm engaging the students walking around, I can be able to use my device to control the panel. A couple other things that we can do from the application here. One of my favorites is just being able to access the camera of whatever device I'm using. So while I have my camera up and running, I could use this as a mobile document camera. Maybe I'm walking around, maybe snap a photo of a student's piece of work or something that we did in the classroom. Once I snap that photo, go ahead and hit upload, and that's going to shoot that up to the panel for me. So now that I've got the screen up on the panel, I could take multiple pictures if I want, or even have those go right into EasyNote if I need to there as well. So teachers love being able to have their document camera with them while they walk around the classroom. A couple other things that I can do with Easy Connect, I can also use it as just a slideshow clicker. So if I want to thumb through either my EasyNote slides or also maybe my PowerPoint slides, I can do that. And lastly, I can upload any file from my phone. So maybe I've got a picture from something we took at recess or on a field trip, or a video file even. I can send that wirelessly to the panel. So that saves me from having to find the correct cable and do some of that stuff. We can do everything wirelessly. Right, another small program I'll show you really quick is called Easy Capture. So this allows me to do some of that wireless screen recording. So especially teachers start talking about doing a flipped classroom environment, or even just recording a few of their lessons for some homework help or a study guide. We've got that built in now as well. So I'll go ahead and hit record. This gives me a couple different options. I can record the whole screen if I want to, or just a certain zone. I can also tie in a camera feed. So again, we've got our webcam there. But this can, again, be any video source that we have on the computer. So I can have that floating anywhere on the screen that I want. And I'll go ahead and mash record. And now anything that I'm doing on the screen is going to start recording that, as well as the video feed and the audio through the camera. I can hop in and out of my softwares that we're using, anything that we're doing on the screen. Once we're done, I'll go ahead and hit stop here, and you can also pause if you'd like. But instantly gives me a video preview. So right from there, if we're happy with that first take, I can go ahead and just export that to an MP4 file, which is a very common video file, something the students can view at home on their device or anything like that. If I want to get into a little more detail, I can also grab the built-in line editor. So this allows me to drag and drop my different clips. If I want to maybe snip a couple problems together, I can add external media. So if I do have some other PDFs or anything I want to add into that, maybe add a text box, maybe even the school's watermark, anything like that to kind of enhance the video. And then from there, I can also export that to an MP4 file again if I would like to. Okay, the next piece of software we're going to talk about is DisplayNote. So this allows us to connect all of the student devices. So any of those one-to-one devices that we have in the classroom, whether it's MacBooks, Chromebooks, iOS or Android devices, anything that we want to connect, we can bring that in. So I'm logged in as the presenter at the front of the board, but as a teacher, I also have the option to log in as the presenter on my device. So if I have an iPad or maybe my mobile device, I can log in also as the presenter here. And a couple of different things we can do with that. So the first thing that we can do is we can see everybody that's connected to the session. So I've got a MacBook over there connected, as well as a mobile phone connected to this device. So we can have any range of things connected, and there's a couple things that we can do on this as well with our controls here. The first thing is I can pause everybody's screen, so that's actually going to gray out all the screens. You might see them over there grayed out, and that's a great way to call attention to myself as the teacher. So if I want to pause everybody, we can bring order back to the classroom. A couple other things that we can do on here, there's also some back and forth annotation control. So to set this up, what I'm going to do is start a couple of things here. I'm going to go ahead and bring up just a basic whiteboard screen. So now that I have a white background, I can take from the front of the classroom, take my pen tool. Now I'm going to write a very difficult math problem on here. So once I draw my math problem, as you can see, this is going to start showing up on all my devices. So my student devices as well as my teacher device. They're all going to start to see this same screen show up. And I have a couple of options now. So now I could instruct each of the students to individually answer this problem on their device. So from a student device, I'm going to grab a student device really quick to show you. From a student's device, I actually have a side toolbar that I can call up, very similar to the teacher's toolbar. So now I can grab my own pen tool, grab that there, and I can go ahead and answer the problem on my own. And this is just for myself. So every student can answer individually. No one else is seeing my work that I'm doing. I can do it at my own pace as I go along. And you'll notice it also actually separated myself from the live stream. So now I'm at my own pace, working on my own page. If I want to join back with what's live on the teacher screen, I can select the blue button in the top corner. And that's going to bring me back to the live screen, as you can see there. So that's one way for the teacher to have all the students solve the problem on their own at their own pace. I could do this with multiple screens here. I'll go ahead and solve this as well on the laptop. So once I have that done, as a teacher, I now have a couple options. So as a teacher, I'm going to go in from my device, which remember is logged in as a presenter. I'm going to pull up my classroom list here. And now I can see everybody on the screen, which is that same control screen you saw on the board. But I'm going to go ahead and select everybody's screens. And now I'm going to go ahead and preview those. So from this teacher screen, I can actually preview my students that are connected here. And if I had my whole classroom connected, I can scroll through the different pages and see that. If I've selected one that I want to show on the main screen, so we'll show Steve's screen on here on the main screen since he got it right, and I don't want to embarrass Joe because he actually got the wrong answer. But I'm going to go ahead and grab this, and now I'm going to push this to the main screen, and as you can see behind me, that's going to push that to the main screen, which will then also push that to all of the other student devices that are connected as well. So that's a great way to kind of preview those screens before we want to show it on the main screen. A couple other ways that we can go about this. I'm going to go ahead and get these back to the live screen here. So again, just hitting that blue button going back to the live screen. Another way, if I want to manage my students, is giving them the ability to answer this in real time on the front of the classroom. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and give Steve some collaboration rights. So I just gave him the collaboration rights as the teacher. And now on Steve's device, we can see it's saying, hey, you're going to be a collaborator on the main screen. I'll hit OK. And now, again, I can grab my pen tool from the sidebar, and I'll go ahead and answer just like I did before. But this time, it's going to show up live on that main screen. So rather than going through the preview process and selecting someone's screen, I can have someone answer this in real time, which is also pushing it out to all the other students in real time as well that are following along. So a couple different ways to have that back and forth interaction. Of course, this is just a simple math problem, but we could have any number of interaction back and forth with that. A couple other things that we can do with the DisplayNote application. I can also access, from my teacher control again, I can also access the students' microphones. And this is great for students that may be connected over the internet rather than sitting in the classroom. So if I have someone who's maybe homebound or at another location in the school district, they can connect to that teacher's session, and then I can actually enable their microphone. If we do want some back and forth communication, I can also enable the teacher's microphone for some of that back and forth there. But lastly, a couple things that we can do on here. We can also do some quick polling. So if I want to call up a question on here, maybe a quick true-false question, or maybe a multiple choice, anything like that, I can actually prepare this again from the teacher's iPad and then push that out to students. So if I want to assess the class and get some quick feedback, we can do that. All right, and lastly, one more thing to add with Display Note. When it comes time to close our session, we can actually, it's going to end the session here. It's actually going to ask us if we want to save that content. So in the background, it's actually been creating kind of a flip chart for all of our pages. So as we go through, it's going to ask me if I want to save that at the teacher's screen, so I can save it there. But I can also save it from the students' devices. So once I've ended that session on the teacher's screen, it's telling me, hey, your session is ended. So I'll go ahead and hit OK, but it didn't exit me out of the last screen. So as a student, maybe I'm walking out of the classroom very quickly, finishing my problem. I'm not completely exited out. But when I decide to, I can go down here, exit out of the application. I'm back to my login screen. But now in the top right corner, I've got a file folder where I can actually go through and see every different session that I've been a part of. So as a student, I can go back into that flip chart, re-edit some of those slides, and be able to have those saved on my device. Also with the option to upload those to any cloud storage that I would like as well. So that's Display Note. It's really a great way to connect all of those student devices. So like I said, whether it's iOS or Android, it really revolves around that BYOD situation. Another nice part about Display Note is you can also use it, we kind of used it as the whiteboard here, but I can also use this over any other application. So I could run it as just a utility and then maybe launch into that EasyNote software or out to the internet or any other program on my device. I can have that running while we present that out to all the student devices. So it's a great way to bring in those student devices. The last piece of software we'll talk about is Snowflake Multiteach. So this is our interactive activity-based learning software. And a lot of cool things we can do inside of Snowflake. So with Snowflake, there's about 25 or 30 of these built-in activities that we have here. We'll go ahead and load some of these. The nice part about Snowflake is there's also a zones option. So from any of the menus here, this allows me to split the screen up into a couple different configurations and actually load multiple activities at the same time. So we can do our 4 zones here. And this allows me to load a bunch of these different applications at the same time. So this really takes advantage of our convertible mobile stand. So this allows me to flip it flat like a table, and I can actually call up all these different applications. I can have multiple students around the board at the same time. If we are working in that tabletop mode, I can also take these applications, rotate that window, so now the students on the other side of the panel, they have their content facing them. And again, this software in particular really takes advantage of the 20 points of touch on the new 6000 series panels. So if I've got multiple students all using drag and drop, pinch to zoom activity, we can accommodate all those points of touch. But the really nice part about Snowflake, apart from all of the built-in activities, we do have the option to create your own lessons. So there's a whole lesson builder built into Snowflake that we'll call up here. And a couple different things that we can do with this. So there's about 20 or so different lesson types. So if I want to make a matching game, maybe just a quick labeling game, all kinds of things that we can do, these different activities. I can actually input my own curriculum as a teacher, my own pictures, my own words, vocab list, change the background, go into a whole number of different content situations and start to create my own lessons. And then once I've created my own lesson, I can again maybe have that in my 4 different split screen or just 2 different zones and have the students engaging with that content that I've created. Built in with the lesson creator, there's also a whole online community. So as a teacher, if I want to browse activities that other teachers around the globe have created, I can browse those, be able to download those, as well as share some of the ones that I've created. And lastly, we've actually made the entire lesson builder available online. So as a teacher, I don't have to have this entire Snowflake application installed on my computer device at home. I can simply go into an online browser, create all these lessons from my computer from anywhere, and then also be able to share those with my students. So from that online lesson builder, I can import my students' email addresses and be able to send some of these activities out to their devices where they can quickly do some drag and drop or maybe complete that activity, even send it back for grading. And then the beauty of it is when we come back to the classroom, I can have that same activity already loaded on my panel and be able to launch that and then work in that group environment with the entire class. So that lesson builder really brings Snowflake to life, allowing me to put all of my curriculum at any grade level, any event that we're doing, we can have any of our information in there. Couple other things that we can do inside of Snowflake. One of my favorites is the Nodes application. So this is kind of a presentation application that we can load here. And again, we can have this full screen like we do here, or any split screen configuration. But this allows me to drag out a bunch of these different nodes that we can have. I can start to label them. I can add media, any of this content that I want to start to add to this. I'm going to go ahead and load one that I've already got created here. This one is maybe 6th grade level environmental science, talking about beach erosion or anything on here. So once I have this loaded, I have all these nodes that I've created, and all these are interactive at the same time. Again, that 20 points of touch. And all of these can have different content attached to them. So if I select the problem, we'll start there. As you can see, I've got my picture, I've got text. Again, I can do pinch to zoom. You also notice as I move this around, it's moving some of the other nodes out of the way for me. But I can start to go through. So this one talks about, hey, there's a few different solutions that we want you to try out for this problem. So once I'm done reading that information, all I have to do is select the plus button here, and that's going to show me a few other nodes that I have attached to that node. So with this, I can start to do things like choose your own adventure activities, where the students will continue down different nodes as they go down different trails. But all these, again, are interactive. So I could say, hey, you work on solution 2, you work on solution 1, and let's try and find the best one. Again, I can pull up these different nodes. I think this one here has a video attached to it as well. So if I want to call up a video, and if I want to get rid of some of this mess, I can just make that video full screen to kind of go over everything there. And this one, I believe, talks about one of the jobs you can do with environmental science and some of this beach protection. But being able to have all that media, the text, everything kind of organized in a unique way can really bring to life some of those presentations that you have. This is also a great way for the students to present information. So this can be a fun thing for the students to build and then present that as well. A couple other things inside of Snowflake. We also have what we call the Canvas tool. So this is actually another whiteboard built into Snowflake. So again, I've got my multi-touch, all those things built in. I actually have some math tools as well, rulers, a graphing calculator, anything that we want in there. But one of the coolest features about the Canvas tool inside of Snowflake is the ability to bring in a live browser. So I can actually bring in a live browser here. I can go out and do a Google search, and I can save these on multiple different pages. So there is a flip chart element to this built into Canvas. So as I start to create some pages, I could call up a couple different live browsers, maybe go to different web pages. And the beauty of it is if I preload this with a couple different web pages, maybe one is a YouTube video, maybe another one is a curriculum website. When I go to save this flip chart, it's going to remember exactly where we were on that built-in browser. And then the next time we load it, I've got my browser window already loaded, ready to go. So kind of the next step up from just a simple hyperlink built into that. But again, one of the fun parts about Snowflake is I can have my whiteboard, but I can also come over here to the zones, and maybe we'll do a split screen here. So now I've got my whiteboard space with my live browser over here, and now I can come over to my lessons application and maybe load a quick matching game that we just created, talking about the same subject there. So Snowflake really starts to open the door for that multi-zone interaction as well as multi-student interaction at the front of the classroom here. So lots of different things we can do. There's also just a simple built-in browser. So if I don't need to load the whiteboard, I can just have a built-in browser as well as just a simple media viewer. So if I do have maybe PDFs or pictures or anything that we have on here, I can call call out some different pictures or PDF files or anything on there. So maybe the student will use a PDF for research over here and then answer a problem, or use the whiteboard for scratch work, any number of things. So it really brings to life the interactivity of the panel. All right, so last but not least, we're going to talk a little bit about some of the mounting options, and then also some of the warranty options that we have with the ClearTouch panel. So you heard me mention the convertible mobile stand. That's just one of our mobile stand options that we have. Let me grab the brochure here. So we've got the convertible mobile stand. This is the stand with electric motors that will raise and lower the panel, as well as flip it 90 degrees flat like a table. So we talked about Snowflake software with the interactive tabletop mode. We also have just an adjustable mobile stand. So if I just need that height adjustability, maybe a special needs classroom or maybe elementary school level, we can have that as well. Every one of the panels also includes a fixed wall mount. So that's the mount that you get included with the purchase of a panel. It's an all steel wall bracket. It's the easiest way just to put it on the wall if we need that in the front of the classroom or in a conference center. But we do also have a couple height adjustable wall mount options. So again, maybe a special needs or that elementary school level, if I need that height adjustability, I do have height adjustable wall mounts. And these are actually really neat. They've got a pedestal feature, which actually you can see we've got this here, and that actually displaces all the weight of the panel directly to the ground, so there's no need to reinforce the wall or do any special construction for the weight of the panel. All that's put on the ground, and then there's also a couple brackets that stabilize the panel to the wall. And the nice part about that is it will actually go underneath any existing chalk trays or dry erase board trays, so there's no need for over the whiteboard brackets or anything like that. Last but not least is our very popular fixed height mobile stand. So this is the easiest way to get it on wheels. So if I want to roll it from classroom to classroom, or have something in maybe a STEM lab or something that I need to bring out really quick, that fixed height mobile stand is the easiest way to go. All of the ClearTouch panels also include a 3-year on-site warranty once you register the panel. And this allows for someone from ClearTouch or maybe one of our integration partners to come on site. We'll either repair or if we need to, we will replace the panel. And that's outlined in our warranty document as well. And that can also be upgraded to a 5-year on-site warranty. So if you do need that extra protection, we can provide that as well. A couple other things that we have, and you can see these inside our brochure as well. We do also provide ClearTouch Capital, which is a way to do some quick financing if that's something that interests you guys. This allows you to purchase a lot more equipment in a short amount of time, so we can get all these teachers updated, and then with low interest rates, be able to pay that off as we go down the road. If you'd like more information about that, be sure to reach out to your local ClearTouch account manager for more information on that. The last but not least, and we kind of mentioned this earlier, is professional development. So at ClearTouch, we do offer several different ranges of professional development. We will always do a kind of an overview of the panel just to make sure you're up and running with some of the basics. But we do also offer full on-site professional development. So we have a great PD team that will come on site and offer different ranging levels of professional development from all sorts of different backgrounds. And then we also have ClearTouch Academy. So this is an online LMS program, kind of a learn at your own pace. And this is something that's available to everybody. And there's actually a link to it, remember, on the Get Started page on that Android side. But that's the easiest way, just to thumb through a lot of videos similar to this, but it really breaks it down into, even as simple as how do I use the pen tool, how do I turn it on and off. That ClearTouch Academy can be a great resource for you. So that about does it, guys. That's a kind of a quick overview of the 6000 series ClearTouch interactive panels. Thanks and have a great day.